This is the web service exercise in Python. We are using FastAPI as a part of Python today and Pydantic. So those are the libraries that we're going to use to generate the web service. Looking down at our use case, we've got basically a few different rules here. So given the consumer interacts with this web API or our web service, when the consumer submits text to an endpoint, so an endpoint, as a reminder, is the combination of a URL with an HTTP method. So get, put, post, patch, delete, one of those. So the combination is going to be an endpoint. So they're going to submit text to our endpoint. We're going to take that text, we're going to reverse it and send a response that has the reverse text. And all this will be with JSON. We use our tests as we typically do, and in order to get started, we'll need to run a couple of commands. We're using pipenv, and we know that because we've got our pip file with our pipfile.lock file, so that tells us we're using pipenv. So go ahead and run pipenv shell. And pipenv install -d. This will run all the dependencies or install all of the dependencies to make sure that everything's ready to go. This might take a couple of minutes on your machine. Taking a little bit of time on mine. There we go. All right, so we've got it running. So now everything's installed. We can run our test using the command pipenv run pytest. This will run the test on the command line, and we can see that we do have a failure, which is what I'd expect. It's basically saying we have a not implemented exception as a part of what we're doing in our code. So let's take a look at our tests as we would typically do. Let's kind of read through. So what we're doing in our test is we're creating a test client. Test client is from FastAPI. FastAPI actually gives us an object we can use to test our endpoints, our URLs and our HTTP methods that we generate. So that's going to be our test client. We're going to give it the mirror API object. That is the object that we created in our production code that hosts the web service endpoints. So we'll create our client. We'll perform a post against the URL API mirror reverse text. The JSON sending is an object that has a text property with the value of testing. Our response comes back. We're going to make sure that the status code is 200. That means good. Anything in the 400s means we have a client error, so the error on our side. Anything in the 500s is a server error, so error on the code side that's running. Then finally, we'll get the JSON and we'll make sure that it matches an object where it has a reverse text property and the value is testing in reverse. So this isn't working. We'll go into our app folder. So this is app.main. So we're looking for the main py file under the app folder. Here it is. And here is our mirror API object that we're pulling out. We can see that we've got the mapping here. So mirror API says we're mapping posts for the URL API/mirror/reverse text. We're going to do this code. This code is not working. We have an exception. So for sure, we're going to need to delete that. We've got a reverse text model here. We can see that derives from base model, which is from Pydantic. Now I'm not getting IntelliSense here, and that's largely because I need to change my environment. We need to use our virtual environment. So I'm going to click this little button down here in the bottom right. That's going to give me a list of my environments. I want the pipenv for our mirror API, which is where we have. So I'll click on that. That will pull everything in, and then these are going to resolve here in just a moment. So now that I have that, there's a couple of things that we're going to need to do. First off, in the method itself, we're going to need to get the text from the incoming request object, from the JSON, reverse it, and send a response back. But secondly, and we'll actually do this first, is our reverse text model needs to map to the JSON text. This is something called model binding. You can do an internet search by looking for FastAPI, Pydantic, model binding, JSON example. Do those searches, you'll get quite a few recommended articles, as well as maybe even a AI-generated recommendation for you. All we really need to do is create attributes on this class, or fields on this class, that are going to map to our test. So our test, we had a property called text coming in. So we're going to need to create a text property on our class here. So create an attribute or property called text, and we need to tell it the data type. We're going to say this is a string. So text called in string. Pydantic and FastAPI will automatically take our JSON object and bind the value testing to the text attribute or the field for us. So that's going to happen automatically. Because of that, I can use that inside our code. So here we're ready to get the text out. So we'll say text equals model.text. This right text is the text property that we just created. The left text is just a local variable. Then we'll create our reversed text. And this will just be text, and we'll use our bracket : -1 to reverse a string in Python. And then finally, we're going to return JSON. Now with JSON in FastAPI, we can simply return a dictionary, and it will convert it to a JSON object for us. So we'll return a dictionary object that'll have a reversed text property, and this is coming from our test. So we know that we need a property called reverse text, the value of which is going to be our variable reverse text. So it's going to take the value in the variable, which is the reverse of that, and then send it back as a part of our JSON object. So let's save that. This looks right. Let's rerun our test. And we have a pass. So we've gotten the test part done. Let's head back to the README now. Looking at objective 2, we want to be able to test this, and we can do this through a browser. So built into FastAPI is OpenAPI documentation that we can use. So I'm going to take this command. We are going to run this in our terminal window. It is running on this URL, 127.0.0.1, which is localhost port 8000. So let me open this up, drag this over, and then we're going to go to /docs. And here is our API tester that we can use. We can see our method that we created. I'm going to expand this, and there's a try it out button here on the top right. Now in here, we can basically type the text that we want to try to reverse. So we'll say Chad's awesome test. We will execute it with the big blue button down here. And our response, there it is. That concludes the web service application in Python.